I'll talk about Johnny Sexton. Some big headlines coming out of his book.
Johnny's wants to sell a book, right?
Yeah.
And everyone knows about the quarterfinal and how that went down and the interactions.
I think it's important though, Jim. I don't think, certainly from my end, and knowing Johnny as I do, I don't think either of us have said these things just to sell a book. I don't, like, we both said we don't really care if it sells or not. We've both said that, I mean, clearly we'd like it to sell.
But it happens.
But what I mean is, we were speaking in just out there and we were saying, like, how many interviews, autobiographies, everything do you read where nothing gets given, or nobody tells you anything that you don't already know?
Be frank, they're pointless.
Yeah, well,
in a way, with all due respect.
Hold on, he's trying to sell books here.
No, but Biggs is different.
But I'm saying, I think me and Johnny have just been, I think we haven't been provocative or anything like that. We've just tried to be honest.
Yeah.
And
that's what we need.
And that's what I've tried to be in any interview, in any of the pods I've done here. I've just tried to be honest and open and give our opinion. And Johnny's exactly the same.
Gets you in trouble.
But that's what I'm saying. But when you're honest,
a man that knows, it gets you in trouble.
But people can't have it both ways, can they? No. They can't say, "Oh, we want people to be honest, give opinions, tell us what it really is like, or the relationship is like with X, Y, or Z," and then complain and say, "Oh, well, he's just opinionated or slagging someone off or whatever like that." You can't have it both ways. And for me, I'm really glad with just being honest. My relationship with Gats is actually, it's like we said, it's really professional. It's not someone I'm going to keep in touch with for years to come, but it was a bloody successful relationship as well. So I'm really glad to have worked under Gats in particular in his prime in that first sort of 10, 12 years. And
he's not in his prime now, no? Just poking.
Well, I mean, we're in a bit of a different stage, Andrew, should we say? But I think Johnny as well has just been honest.
Yeah,
like Johnny's not gonna, if he's doing his own book, he's not gonna care. And I know, knowing Johnny, he doesn't care what us three think or the public here think or whatever. He's just been honest and giving it.
And that's what I love. That's what I love, and that's why I didn't write a book. Had an offer, and I was like, I'll go nuclear and then just have to go into a bunker somewhere for the rest of my life.
I thought you said you had to live with some guy up in Scotland for a month as well.
That was my excuse. But then if you're going to do a book, you do it like that, telling the truth, telling everything. And then you're going to get people that are like, "Oh, Johnny Sexton complaining about being called a see you next Tuesday." Well, he's given out enough, hasn't he, over time?
Yeah, but actually with Johnny's book and reading the extracts and chatting to Bernard Jackman, there's some really deep stuff around his upbringing with his mum and dad splitting up and him wanting to please his dad. It really interesting and actually really nice that he's gone into that depth. I know there's stuff about your family in your book as well, and that motivation of being a player in that position and with Johnny's personality. And there's so many things with Johnny because of the Ireland thing and the quarterfinal and his relationship with Ronan O'Gara.
Yeah.
I've got huge respect.
Yeah, Rog had some nice things to say.
But that's what you want in the books, isn't it? You don't want just Johnny could have easily gone, "Oh yeah, me and Ronan are actually all right now."
Yeah.
Like, and then none of us would have been.
What's the point?
What's the point? None of us would have had any clue. I think it's it's brilliant from what Johnny's done in terms of being open and honest, and rather than just saying, "Oh yeah, everything's fine," and just write the book and be done with it.
Or take the money up front and it doesn't matter on the sales. But that's the thing, you've got to say it as it is.
Yeah, but as well, like, it's a book which it's a book you want to read, isn't it?
Yeah.
As opposed to maybe one which you just like, oh, you could take it or leave it. And I think that's what you want. You want to know a little bit about, about people. And I think Johnny's done it in a really good way as well.
Yeah.
So we're in agreement then. Rico's said to him, "Enjoy retirement, you cunt."
Well, he definitely said it. I think Rico's come out and basically put it on Instagram saying that, I said it.
In your head. Did you see the music that you put to it as well?
The Cranberries.
So that's the thing. Listen, it's the throwaway comment, right? And heat of the battle, heat of the moment. I don't think you can complain about it afterwards if you're Johnny, when there's a respect thing, right? Well, but maybe Rieko probably thinks, in hindsight, maybe I went
That's what I was
going to
say. Do you think deep down, do you think Rieko Ioane thinks, could I have done that? Or could I have not done that?
Yeah. I don't think he's bothered.
I don't think he's bothered, but I reckon in public, but I reckon if you look yourself in the mirror and you read that you've said, you're probably thinking, I could have.
In the context of it, and why in the context of it? Because
in the context of
it happening. So for Rieko Ioane, that was Johnny Sexton's
that's his
last moment on a rugby pitch.
Yeah.
And that's what he says in the bits that I've seen. It's like, that's when he's at home and the kids are at school and the missus is out and you're on your own in your own thoughts. Not that he's thinking about Rieko Ioane, but he can't even watch that quarterfinal back.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that haunts Ireland, and that's where the interest will be in Johnny's book, because you've got one of the greatest 10s to have ever done it, massively successful at Leinster, hugely driven character, quite complex as well. You can see that by how he is and how he goes about his business, quite emotional. And so I think it's a real treat.
I think it's great as well, because you think of Johnny Sexton as just winner, winner, winner all the time, don't you? And a lot of that's in his book is actually about the really tough moments and the disappointments of losing Champions Cup finals, quarterfinals, big matches for Ireland. So I just think it's like, and that's what I found really interesting doing the book, was how, when I look back and how proud of what we've achieved, but also like, bloody hell, we had some low moments and some tough losses and some tough times, and you sort of think, right, well, you've got to keep coming back and back and back from that. So that was a big takeaway for me on the process.
I love Johnny. He is a bit chalk and cheese with some people on how he's conducted himself. If he's he's one of those players, isn't he? And Biggs, you're probably the same. When you're on their team, you love that character. Yeah. Coming up against them, you're like, I fucking want to smash him because he's of who he is and how he conducts himself.
I always found when I played against Owen and Johnny, I always felt like you had to be right on it. Yeah. Because they were going to be right on it for every single moment. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. I love playing against those boys because it brought out the best in you as well. So for me, like those are the type of people I want to associate myself with, or be sort of not compared, because I think those two are better players than me. But I do believe that that's the sort of characteristics that I'd want to be related to those two as well. So, and
unfortunately, you're now associated with me and Jim Hamilton. Similar specimens.
Very similar.
Very similar. Goody, you must have given some on-field sledging in your day, would you?
He got a bit, I can tell you that.
I came after Jim once.
Yeah, that's the story. Yeah. You might not have heard. This is an old story. Yeah, I'll let you tell it.
Are we going England, Scotland?
You go with it. Well, I don't know
are we going Gloucester, Worcester? Or which ones are we going? England, Scotland, right? Twickenham. I'm on the bench, obviously, so I've come on. And England, we're hosing Scotland when we could host Scotland. And I think it was something like 30 points to 0. And then I've come on. You've kicked 3 points, not you personally, but Scotland have kicked 3 points or something, or got a try.
I would have loved to have seen Jim kicking 3 points. Yeah.
So Scotland have got a penalty or a try or something to break the bagel. And there's me coming on for the kickoff. And I was like, where's Jim? Twickenham, 80,000 people.
I've made about 38 tackles.
He's absolutely fucking raging, getting smashed. And I'm like, Jim, where are you? Flippers. And your nickname was Flippers because you had hands like Flippers.
Only nickname for you.
I was like, Flippers. And he's looking at me fucking raging. So I put a kickoff up. And one of my things I could do was get hang time on kickoffs.
It was blowing a gale. It was like a hurricane. It was a fucking hurricane out there.
I've stuck it up in the air as high as I could. And I'm just laughing. And I'm like, Jim. And he's like, Jim's ball. Goes up.
Own it. Own the airways.
Goes up with his lifting pod. Boom, straight off the head. And I'll just come over laughing.
And do you know what the irony is? The ball came straight off my head. I think I heard maybe 80,000 people laughing. The referee, say it was Wayne Barnes, gave a scrum for a knock on, and I didn't even have the min rules because I was too embarrassed to say it's not a knock on.
I tell you a good. I wasn't personally involved in it, but remember Matthew Jones used to play for the Ospreys. Went to Worcester a little bit. A young
centre.
He played a bit of 12, but he was a young 10.
10, yeah, blonde-haired lad.
Yeah, blonde-haired lad, and he's quite young looking.
Yeah,
and this was just when I was in the academy for the Ospreys, and he was sort of playing a couple of games, and they played Munster away in Thomond Park, and I think he just missed or put a kick out of the full or some sort of error. And apparently O'Gara's got up to him and he said, what are you doing here? He's confused. He said, the under-14s are playing tomorrow.
Just buried him.
So he said it's become sort of legendary a little bit now, but he said it's all in good spirits and things.
There's been some proper shithousery though over time, hasn't there?
Oh, I love it. And I think it just builds out the matches and the stories. You think about the stuff with Johnny, and he's not playing, obviously, but the one on November 8th, which is going to be the All Blacks playing over in Dublin. All this shithousery and all the talk and the trash talk, we need more of it in the game, as long as it's done in a decent enough fashion.
Has it ever happened to you?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Who was the worst for it? Who was giving you the worst shit?
Fans, so Bath weren't huge fans of mine, so I used to get rinsed by the fans. Ireland,
Gloucester fans.
Yeah,
the
but
shed.
not to me.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
they
to
did
the
actually.
shed. I honestly, I've put my first game for Northampton. I put 3 restarts out on the full, and the shed are
In one game?
In one game.
That's not damn big a
no,
stats, that, is it?
exactly.
And does that get in your head?
Yeah.
I'm speaking to one of the greatest, Andrew. One sec.
The last one did, because they started shouting, "What a waste of money!"
But does it get in your head? So at Gloucester,
the first two,
No.
the first couple wouldn't. I actually quite enjoy those moments. I quite enjoy when you knock a kick over.
You mean did the Gloucester fans get in your head?
as a player,
I'm thinking like you put one kick off straight out. It's in your head to not put the second one straight out, and then you put the second one straight out.
So
and the third one.
the third one was not 10. Third one wasn't 10. So I'm not sure if that makes it any better or not. But I do think it's like it gives Gloucester a bit of an edge in terms of that. It's not a nice. It's great for the atmosphere, the environment, the league and things. But it's not a place you probably enjoy playing, especially when you're warming up on that side of the shed when they're giving you a bit of stick. And things.
I played at Gloucester once, and I was getting absolutely rinsed by the shed, and we lost. It's when I was at Sarries actually, and I missed a couple of kicks, getting EO'd and all that stuff. And 5 minutes before the end of the game, we're losing by 20 points. We've got a line out about 10 metres out from touch. And it's just literally just kick it in. I fucking wellied it as hard as I can into the shed.
One big happy family. Here's the ball.
It's bouncing off the roof, off people's heads. None of them have got teeth, and it was just all over the shop.
Yeah.
Pod.
Rugby pod.